Hello and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at I would say Ramp Dragon deck. I mean, I covered a Ramp Dragon not that long ago, but I wanted to cover this one because this one in particular piqued my interest a little bit. It started out as a very standard kind of Ramp Dragon list, but with a couple of adjustments I went for a more aggressive, big-bodied Storm deck, running a single Prince of Darkness, which you will get to see used, which is pretty cool because I do love using Prince of Darkness in Dragons decks. Of course, this is unlimited for anyone who doesn't take any notice of my thumbnails and such, but I love playing this deck in particular. It's a great deck to play. It does fairly well in the current unlimited meta, and I reckon it'll still do well even after the next set comes out because it is, of course, unlimited. And with the amount of ramp you've got, you can pretty much always get to 10 well before your opponent. So we're going to get right into this deck and check it out. So our first game is against Forest. Forest always presents itself as a pretty strong deck in both unlimited and rotation. Obviously in unlimited it's a little worse for wear lately, as even Roach and stuff don't seem to be absolutely dominating the current ladder, although tournament wise I believe Roach and stuff are still some of the stronger decks. So we start off with a nice Blazing Breath, but nothing really to follow up. We don't have much ramp in this opener outside of course, turn 3. It would have been nice if we had our turn 2 ramp, because then every play would have been a hell of a lot better at this point. But we can at least go for our Dragonite now, get that out, hopefully have that be traded off and gain the extra play point, so that we can take advantage of Draconic Fervor going forward. Because Fervor and then into Sybil will ramp us up massively. And there is our first Fervor, obviously getting the heal and draw as well. It was such an amazing card. You really could not go wrong with Draconic Fervor just because it is an amazing card. Wood of Brambles, of course, flooding our board out, not really an issue. Sybil will pretty much negate this completely, healing us up and blocking them out. That or Draconic, either option would actually do pretty similar, but Draconic would make us draw a lot of cards. So we go for the Dragon Summoner, trying to aim for some of my bigger drops, like Aizdraha. And of course our Rehabs are actually really good wards. They do block out a fair amount of damage normally, so they do work pretty well on top of this deck. So there are a lot of trades, getting rid of as much of their board as they could. And we go for our Fervor again. Now we're at 10 quite comfortably with a Rehab on board to block out any unwanted threats. Nothing too surprising. Insect Lord is a good option. Of course, all of this will be removed immediately from Bahamut, because there's no reason to not play Bahamut at this point. We're probably not going to get a better chance to take advantage of it, so now is a good time. Cassiopeia though, that is going to be 7 damage. And the Airbound Barrage is going to pick it off. Of course, that does not mean the end of us. Canyon of Dragons on an empty board along with a Goblin Mage. Basically, we have put our opponent on the back foot now. They need everything they can to remove all these cards repeatedly. Of course, Cassiopeia is a perfect clear. Of course, I was expecting that to happen, that's why I wasn't too worried. I was mainly worried about getting the Tutor off and getting the Canyon onto board. Now we have the 7 damage to face thanks to Zeus. And we are dropping the cost of our eyes right down. So hopefully once it's at 8, it'll be a much more comfortable play. Even at 9 with a Blazing Breath, it's still a pretty nice play. And they obviously not able to remove everything here, just concede the game. And our next one is against Haven. Haven, even unlimited, still a pretty good class. I mean, every class has at least one really viable deck in unlimited. Portal is probably the only awkward one, just because they lack the cards to deal with some of the really big hitters. But honestly, every other class has at least one deck that is really viable in this kind of meta. So Dragon Oracle is looking pretty good as our turn 2 play. Of course, it would be nice if we could line up an immediate turn 4. But that may just be a Goblin and Blazing. Or maybe we could just go for something else altogether. Does look like they're playing some variation of Tenko. They're pretty standard Tenko cards at this point. Although most Haven decks do typically try to run those cards. But White Fang Temple, I feel like definitely gives it away as more of a Tenko build. And when we refer to Tenko these days, we're mostly referring to Tenko Shrine over any kind of Elena build. I haven't seen an Elena build in a very, very long time. That might be a project for a future video. Unlimited Elena, we might go for that. But we've got a pretty decent hand. We've managed to ramp up pretty comfortably. We're actually going to have an even more comfortable turn next turn, as we will be at 7 play points. And very easily able to play Canyons of Dragons while they're only on turn 6, I believe. And we're also way ahead due to the evolves, so at this stage we've really taken the game forward. Of course, Tenko Shrine is great, but unfortunately for them, this Dragon deck plays big bodies to deal with things like this, meaning their pings are going to be next to useless overall. I do go for the Sybil play though. That does secure us the heal, along with ramping us, so we are at 10 next turn. And thanks to having a dragon as well, we get a very nice hand. And they only have 1 free board slot at this point, but a Decree is a perfect way to deal with my current board. The opponent doesn't go for much more. They have the 6/6, which honestly doesn't worry me. I do hold on to that Prince of Darkness, even though I could have went for it. There are a few more cards I'd like to get out of the deck and take advantage of before we decide to completely dump our board, and our hand, sorry. Hand, board, and deck. Prince of Darkness, pretty crucial. And there are their pings with their rabbit healers and so on going onto the board. Happy Pig as well. Really looking for a way to get as much out of this as they can, I'm sure. So the healing is a little annoying, but not impossible to deal with. We do have another Canyon. Whether we want to use that now, though, is not really advisable, because we do want to preferably wipe out as much of this as we can. And just kind of bring their health down. They can't really afford 1 weak turn, because that is when we will just dominate them with Eyes or Prince of Darkness to really just crush their spirit. Holy Bowman Keel and a Mosaic Holy Water, that is going to get at least a decent amount of damage. And White Fang Temple on top of that does open up the clear for them, along with a couple more hits onto me. We are only left at 12. And this is the kind of turn that I'm looking to drop something like Prince of Darkness. We have okay cards. Canyon and Dragoon Scyther are both great. We have Izdrahar, which is now going to drop to 8, and we have at least 1 extra body, just as kind of fodder. So while the fodder isn't great, at least it's there. And now every card we get is going to be a powerhouse. So the Decree had to be used to get rid of our 8. But they are getting as many heals as they can. All we need is 1 good body. And Silent Rider is a pretty good body. So that is 12 damage this turn. The 2/2 is going to absorb some damage from stuff like Tenko. So they need to have massive amounts of heals at this point to really even stay in the game, because Izdrahar is a pretty good lethal option. The other option is really good amounts of damage, so they need to have, I think, at least 2 more heals they would have needed to be able to kill me. Luckily, even if they had have healed, we did get Azeroth's Reckoning, which would have sealed our game anyway, but worked out in our favour greatly. So at first I was considering this deck very top heavy, but it turned out to be quite good, and it secured me a few games, which is really nice. It actually was still a positive win rate compared to its losses, which is awesome. I couldn't ask for anything better from this deck. and honestly the card ratios could be messed around with a bit. Of course it is reasonably expensive if you're running a lot of legendaries in this build, and of course you could muddle with it a bit to make it more comfortable for you, but overall I'm very happy with how this was performing, and I hope you guys did enjoy the video. You can hit that like button and subscribe, and I will catch you guys next time. See ya.